All right, earnings season is here, and today we're handing out a report card for Tata Elxsi. We're going to break down their latest financial performance, grade them on how they did in their key business areas, and really dig into where they're acing the test and where they might need to do a little extra homework. But before we get into all the numbers and the nitty-gritty, it's worth taking a moment. Tata Elxsi started their investor call by honoring the legacy of Mr. Ratan Tata on the first anniversary of his passing. It's just a really powerful reminder of the values that are at the heart of this company. So, what's on the syllabus for today? First up, we'll check out the headline performance. Think of it as their overall GPA. Then, we'll dive into the individual subjects, their three main business segments. After that, we'll look at the challenges they're up against, what their game plan is to tackle them, and finally, we'll give you our big picture takeaway. Okay, let's get right to it. Section 1, the headline performance. This is that top-line grade on the report card, the one that gives you a quick snapshot of how they did this past quarter. So let's start with the top line. For the quarter, Tata Elxsi pulled in an operating revenue of a very solid 918.1 crore rupees. Now, if you compare that to the last quarter, it's a 2.9% increase. Look, it's not going to set the world on fire, but it shows steady forward momentum, which in this kind of tricky economic environment is definitely a good sign. And now for a number that's absolutely crucial for understanding their health, the EBIT margin. It came in at a pretty healthy 21.1%. So what does that mean? Well, in simple terms, it tells you how much profit they're actually making from their day-to-day operations. It's a really strong signal of how efficient the business is. All right, so we've seen the overall grade. Now it's time to dig deeper and grade the individual subjects. Because really, Tata Elxsi's performance is a story of three very different business segments. And just take a look at this breakdown. Transportation is, without a doubt, the engine of this whole company. It makes up over half their total revenue, 53.2% to be exact. This is where the real action is happening. So it's really no surprise that transportation gets a solid A on its report card. It grew by an impressive 7% this quarter. A huge part of this is the massive industry shift to what are called software-defined vehicles. Basically, cars are becoming like smartphones on wheels, where software, not hardware, controls everything and can be updated constantly. Tata Elxsi is a major player in this space, expanding deals with giants like Suzuki and riding the big wave of automakers offshoring their R&D work. Now, for the other two big segments, it's a bit of a mixed bag. Media and communications gets a B. It saw strong 6.8% growth thanks to new deals, but there's a catch. The whole industry is a bit shaky right now with lots of mergers creating uncertainty. On the other hand, healthcare and life sciences gets a C. It actually declined by 2.3% because some big, long-running projects came to an end. But there is a silver lining, a new multi-year deal with Bayer that hints at a comeback on the horizon. Of course, no report card is ever perfect, right? Every company hits some bumps in the road. And this next section is all about those areas for improvement, the headwinds that kind of pulled down their final grade this quarter. One of the biggest headwinds actually came from something totally unexpected. A key automotive client had a cybersecurity incident, and that caused project delays for Tata Elxsi. Management was really direct about it. They said that without that one single event, they would have seen positive growth in constant currency. That's when you strip out the effects of currency changes. It just goes to show how much one external event can really shake things up. The other major challenge was a real squeeze on their profit margins. Check this out. A nice swing in currency values gave them a 90 basis point boost, that's 0.9%, but it was almost completely wiped out by rising costs. They had to spend more on talent, and they're investing more in AI and partnerships, and all of that ate right into their bottom line. Okay, so you're facing those challenges. What's the plan? How do you turn it around? Let's take a look at their game plan for the second half of the year. Basically, how they're planning to raise that grade. Management has a really clear three-step plan to get their margins back in shape. First, they want to boost efficiency by getting their employee utilization up to a target of 75%. Second, they're going to get ahead of upcoming costs like wage hikes and find ways to absorb them. And third, they've got a strong pipeline of new business that they plan to leverage to really drive revenue growth in the next 2 quarters. And, this isn't just about a quick, short-term fix. They're already looking ahead to fiscal year 27, and they're aiming for double-digit growth in their 2 biggest segments, automotive and healthcare. That's a pretty clear signal that they have a ton of long-term confidence in their core businesses. Okay, so let's put all the pieces together. We've seen the A's, we've seen the C's, and we've seen the plan for extra credit. It's time to issue that final grade on this quarter's report card. So, what's the final verdict? Well, it's a solid performance for sure, but one that definitely comes with some clear challenges. Their number one strength is that absolute powerhouse automotive division. Their biggest weakness? That constant pressure on their profit margins. But the outlook is pretty optimistic, with a clear recovery plan and a lot of confidence for the second half of the year. So, we're left with this one crucial question. Tata Elxsi clearly has a star pupil in its automotive business, but can it get its other subjects up to that same A level, all while navigating a really tough global economy? The plan is there, but execution is everything. And that will decide if this mixed report card can finally become a story of straight A's. The next quarter's results are going to be very, very interesting to watch.